The internet is a vast and intricate labyrinth, filled with countless corners and hidden passages. But beneath the surface of the web we know, the one with social media feeds and streaming videos, lies a darker, unindexed realm. It's a place where anonymity is king, where secrets are sold, and where the most chilling fantasies can find a home. This is the story of how one of those hidden corners became the stage for a real-life horror. Our story begins with Alex. Alex wasn't a detective or a seasoned journalist. He was a 22-year-old coder, living in a cramped apartment with a perpetually buzzing fluorescent light. His world was made of code, late-night energy drinks, and the quiet satisfaction of solving complex problems. But Alex had a hobby that took him beyond the surface of the internet. He was a regular on the dark web, not for anything illicit, but for a simple academic interest, a forum known as the Echo Chamber. The Echo Chamber was a space for fringe thinkers, conspiracy theorists, and those who believed the mainstream was hiding something. They discussed everything from alien sightings to financial cover-ups, and the tone was always intense. But one user stood out from the rest. His name was Phantom, and his posts were a different kind of unsettling. While others posted about theoretical government plots, Phantom wrote in a narrative style, creating vivid, disturbing stories about stalking and surveillance. His prose was chillingly detailed. His tales weren't just about watching people, they were about manipulating them, about controlling their lives from afar. Most users dismissed him as a creative writer, a talented but disturbed fantasist. Alex wasn't so sure. He had a habit of meticulously analyzing data, and Phantom's posts felt different. There was a consistency, a depth of detail that went beyond fiction. The locations, the timing, the little personal quirks he described, it all felt too real. It was as if he was describing actual people, not characters. One night, Phantom posted a new story. This one was different. It wasn't a tale of control, but of a confrontation. The post described a woman he was watching, a woman he called the Dove. In the story, she had discovered she was being watched and was planning to go to the police. Phantom described, in agonizing detail, the moment he had to silence her. He wrote about the silence, the cold of the night, the finality of it all. It was presented as a fantasy, a what-if scenario for the forum to dissect. The other users chimed in, praising his writing, debating the morality of his fictional character's actions. But Alex's blood ran cold. He had seen this story before. Not on the forum, but in a local news report he'd glanced at a few days earlier. The story was about a missing woman, a local artist who had disappeared from her home under mysterious circumstances. Her name was Elizabeth Thorne, but the article called her the Dove of Silver Lake because of her work with a local bird sanctuary. The parallels were too uncanny to be a coincidence. Alex went back to the news report, then back to Phantom's posts. He started cross-referencing every detail. The location of the woman's apartment, the type of car she drove, even a small, distinctive tattoo she had on her wrist. All of it was in Phantom's latest narrative. The chilling fantasy wasn't a fantasy at all. It was a confession. Alex spent the next 3 days in a blur. He didn't eat, didn't sleep, didn't leave his chair. He downloaded every post Phantom had ever made, every comment, every piece of metadata he could find. He had to prove it. He had to connect this online ghost to the real-world crime. He noticed that Phantom's posts always went live at the same time every day. He also found a small, seemingly insignificant error in Phantom's code, a tiny, almost imperceptible data leak in his signature line. It was a digital fingerprint that the forum's administrators wouldn't notice, but to Alex's trained eye, it was everything. He traced the leak not to an IP address but to a public Wi-Fi network. A cafe in a quiet neighborhood. The same neighborhood where Elizabeth Thorne had lived. The digital trail was faint, but it was there. It was enough. Alex knew he couldn't go to the police with just this. He was an anonymous user on a dark web forum. They'd laugh him out of the station. He needed more. He needed to be absolutely certain. And he knew the only way to do that was to get closer. He had to engage with Phantom directly. He had to lure him out of the shadows. He created a new account on the forum, an account he called Echo. He crafted a post, a carefully worded response to Phantom's latest story. He praised Phantom's writing but added a single crucial line. "Your story is brilliant, but you missed a detail. The way you describe the tattoo, there's a part of it that's missing from your narrative." The response was immediate. Phantom replied, not to the thread but in a private message. "Who are you?" he wrote. "What do you know about that tattoo?" Alex's heart hammered against his ribs, but he kept his hands steady on the keyboard. He was in the game now. "I know things you don't," he replied. And I think you and I have a lot more in common than you realize. He had just gambled everything. The digital cat-and-mouse game had just become a terrifying reality. Alex, now in direct communication with Phantom, must build trust while secretly gathering more evidence. The dialogue between them becomes a high-stakes chess match, with Alex using his coding knowledge to subtly extract information, and Phantom, confident in his anonymity, revealing more about his psychological motivations and his real-life actions. Alex learns that Phantom is not just a killer, but a manipulator who enjoys the power dynamic of his game. This part focuses on the psychological tension and the verbal sparring between the two. The private messages flowed back and forth, each one a step deeper into the dark. Phantom, it turned out, was a wordsmith, a master of 1,000 tiny truths and a single monstrous lie. He spoke of Elizabeth Thorne not as a victim, but as a flaw in his art, a mistake he had to correct. Alex, playing the part of a fellow disturbed admirer, feigned fascination, asking leading questions disguised as compliments. "Your prose is so authentic," Alex typed, his fingers trembling. "How do you capture that level of detail? It feels like you're right there." Phantom's response was almost instantaneous. "I am. The details are the best part. The little things people don't think about. The way a lock clicks, the pattern on a kitchen floor. They're the foundation of the story." He was not just gloating, he was teaching. He was sharing his methods with a supposed apprentice. Alex used a sophisticated script to analyze every piece of Phantom's metadata, every header, every timestamp. He discovered Phantom was using a complex network of public Wi-Fi access points, jumping from cafe to library to university campus. It was a pattern, but an unpredictable one. Alex realized that Phantom was not a professional hacker, but a meticulous planner. His tools were mundane, a laptop and a list of open Wi-Fi networks. Alex's investigation goes offline. He starts physically visiting the locations Phantom mentioned in his posts, trying to find a physical connection. He discovers a pattern. Phantom's Wi-Fi jumping follows a specific, almost ritualistic route through the city. Alex realizes that the random locations are actually part of a larger, obsessive routine. This physical investigation is a dangerous gamble, as Alex is now exposing himself to the very real world that Phantom inhabits. He finds a small detail Phantom missed, a security camera in a less trafficked alley, which might have captured a fleeting image of him. Alex printed out a map of the city and began to plot Phantom's digital trail. The Wi-Fi spots he jumped between formed a strange, meandering line that circled a specific neighborhood. It wasn't random, it was a circuit. A hunter's loop. He took the bus to the first location, a quiet coffee shop. He ordered a black coffee, sat in a corner and watched the street. He saw nothing unusual. But as he paid for his coffee, he noticed something in the alleyway across the street. A small, almost hidden security camera, a relic from a defunct business. It was positioned perfectly to catch anyone walking from the coffee shop to the next point on Phantom's trail. Alex's heart pounded. This was it. A real-world lead. The police wouldn't listen to a dark web forum, but a security camera? That was something they couldn't ignore. He just needed to know if it was still operational, and if so, how to access the footage. He spent the next 3 days a ghost, moving from one cafe to another, mirroring Phantom's route, all while trying to find a way to access the footage. Alex decides on his final, most dangerous play. He constructs a meticulous plan to lure Phantom to a specific location at a specific time, a location where he knows the police can be waiting and where he has confirmed the presence of a working security camera. He crafts a final message to Phantom, one that preys on his ego and his need for control, challenging him to a real-life meet-up under the guise of an offline data exchange. The tension is at an all-time high as Alex races against the clock to coordinate with the police, who are now reluctantly convinced by his overwhelming cross-referenced evidence. He messaged Phantom one last time. "I have something you'll want," he wrote. "A detail about the Dove story that isn't on the forum. It's a secret. Meet me. Tomorrow night, midnight, the alley behind the old bookshop on Maple Street. Don't worry. I'll be watching." The message was a bluff, but a brilliant one. Alex had confirmed the bookshop alley was the final point in Phantom's circuit. It was also, he had learned from a local friend, directly in the line of a new citywide security camera network. The bait was set. The police, after a dozen frantic phone calls and a face-to-face meeting where Alex presented his entire digital and physical investigation, finally agreed to send a team. They were skeptical, but the evidence was too detailed to ignore. The climax. The police set up a surveillance operation. Alex, watching from a distance, sees a figure enter the alley. It's not the menacing figure he imagined. It's a quiet, unassuming man in a hoodie. The police move in and apprehend him. The man is not a hacker or a criminal mastermind. He is a data analyst, obsessed with patterns, and he saw people not as individuals, but as data points to be manipulated. The resolution comes not from a violent confrontation, but from the simple, undeniable fact of his real-world presence in the wrong place at the wrong time, all thanks to Alex's digital forensics. The police cars were hidden 2 streets away. Alex was perched on a rooftop, a laptop open, watching the live feed from the city's cameras. At exactly midnight, a figure appeared. He was a small man, unremarkable in every way, with thick glasses and a nervous twitch in his fingers. He walked directly to the spot where Alex said he would be. The moment he stopped, the signal was given. The police converged, and in a flash of blue and red light, the man was apprehended. He didn't fight. He just stared at the officers with a look of pure, bewildered confusion, as if the real world had suddenly intruded on his meticulously constructed digital one. As the man was led away, the police found his laptop bag. Inside there was a drive. It contained 1,000 stories, 1,000 names, and a single chilling narrative. A narrative that had found its end in a dark alley, not with a bang but with the quiet click of a handcuff. The story concludes with Alex reflecting on his actions. He is no longer a passive observer of the dark web. He has seen the real-life consequences of digital anonymity and obsession. The police praise him, but he knows his work is far from over. He decides to use his skills to create something new. A system to help law enforcement trace digital trails left by criminals. The story ends on a final, poignant moral about the responsibility that comes with knowledge and the ever-blurring line between our online and offline worlds. Alex didn't become a cop. He didn't become a hero in the traditional sense. He went back to his desk, but his world was different now. The dark corners of the internet were no longer a curious hobby. They were a battleground. And he knew, with chilling certainty, that Phantom was not the only hunter. He started a new project. A program designed to sift through online forums, looking for patterns, looking for the telltale signs of a mind crossing the line from fantasy to reality. He made it free for law enforcement agencies, a quiet contribution to a world he now saw with a newfound clarity. The justice system is built on laws, but the digital world is built on code. And sometimes, it takes a coder to find the truth in the noise. He knew what he had to do next. He wouldn't be the detective, but he would be the tool, the algorithm that made sure the next victim didn't have to be another nameless face on a news report. Some people shout to be seen, others just sit in silence and are never forgotten. If this story made you think even for a second, then share it. The internet is built on code, but it's run by people. And people can change, but only if we make them. Hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that matter, and let's keep the conversation going, because next time, the villain might not be on your screen.